Abstract. This article explores research-backed strategies for dealing with the chronic feelings of being overwhelmed that affect an estimated 75% of today's business professionals according to existing research. With overwhelm linked to negative consequences such as burnout, poor decision-making, and an inability to meet organizational goals. The article presents 4 key tactics drawn from research that leaders can use to better manage their workload and regain a sense of control. The strategies discussed include conducting an audit of current responsibilities to identify unnecessary tasks that can be cut, limited multitasking and interruptions through setting distraction-free periods allowing focus on priorities, empowering others through clear and appropriate delegation to reduce reliance on self, and instituting effective time management practices such as blocking out periods for priority work and batching related tasks. Case studies and findings are discussed for each approach. By adjusting perspectives and optimizing processes using evidence-based methods such as these, the article argues overwhelmed leaders can significantly reduce their chronic feelings of being overworked in support of both strong leadership performance and well-being within today's fast-paced business environment. In today's fast-paced business environment, feeling overwhelmed has become almost expected. Research suggests that up to 75% of professionals report often or always feeling overloaded. McCarthy, 2016. While occasional overwhelm may be manageable, leaders who constantly feel swamped risk burnout, poor decision-making, and an inability to meet organizational goals. Today we will explore research-backed strategies for dealing with chronic overwhelm. By adjusting perspectives and processes, leaders can regain a sense of control and focus on high-impact priorities. Researching overwhelm. To understand overwhelm, it is worth examining existing studies. Multiple researchers have investigated the causes and effects of chronic stress and overload. In one study surveying over 1,000 professionals, the top reported sources of feeling overwhelmed were an unreasonable workload, unclear expectations, lack of support, and constant interruptions. Cirillo, 2016. Similarly, a survey of more than 20,000 managers found that 82% felt their to-do list far outstripped their available time and bandwidth. Harvard Business Review, 2018. Researchers link chronic overwhelm to increased health issues like anxiety, sleep problems, and burnout, as well as decreased mental acuity, motivation, and productivity. Sutcliffe, 2019. Berland et al., 2020. To mitigate these deleterious impacts, this paper builds on such research by providing tangible tactics leaders can adopt. Analyzing workloads and priorities. The first step in managing overwhelm is to honestly analyze one's workload and priorities. Leaders should take time to audit current responsibilities, deadlines, and tasks. It can be illuminating to literally write out every commitment on a spreadsheet or calendar. Many will likely realize much of their overwhelm stems from unnecessary or low-impact tasks. Research finds professionals spend an average of 54% of their time on tasks rated as important by their organizations, but only 18% on tasks rated as most important. Heathfield, 2021. A useful framework for auditing workloads is the ABCD prioritization method. Activities are categorized as A. Tasks, highest impact. Strategic priorities. B. Tasks, important tasks that support a task. C. Tasks, tasks that could potentially be delegated. D. Tasks, low-impact tasks that could potentially be cancelled or cut. E. Tasks, insignificant tasks that must be eliminated. This method provides structure to assess workload and importance. Overwhelmed leaders gain insight into where efforts can be reallocated to high-impact work. As an example, the CEO of a manufacturing startup found through workload audits that she spent over 30% of her time on unimportant emails and administrative tasks categorized as D and E. By delegating or automating those less meaningful activities, she freed up a full day each week to focus on strategic growth priorities. Similar prioritization approaches have helped overwhelmed executives across industries like healthcare, technology, and media. Managing interruptions and multitasking. A key reason leaders feel overwhelmed is constant multitasking and interruptions. According to neuroscience research, cognitive switching between tasks significantly impacts productivity and mental bandwidth. Some studies suggest it takes 23 minutes on average to get fully refocused after an interruption and return to a state of flow. Gazzali and Rosen. 2016. Leaders must intentionally limit multitasking and streamline processes to minimize disruption. Several evidence-based tactics can help create focused blocks of distraction-free time. Set clear, do not disturb hours and turn off notifications. Close unnecessary programs and browser tabs. Physically move to a separate workspace if possible. Delegate interrupt-driven tasks like phone calls and emails. Schedule meetings in chunks instead of sporadically. Communicate working agreements about interruptions. One technology startup implemented 3 no-meeting zones each day for their CEO and executive team. This allowed uninterrupted focus on analyzing data, strategy, and writing. A retail brand VP found a distraction-free workspace 1 floor above her open office dramatically boosted productivity. With more control over scheduling and interruptions, leaders feel empowered rather than overwhelmed. Delegating effectively. While overload stems partly from unnecessary tasks, a large component also involves tasks others could reasonably handle. However, delegating often feels like letting go of control. Research finds the extent to which leaders are willing to delegate associates strongly with perceived stress levels. McCarthy et al. 2016. Overwhelmed executives must learn to empower others through clear delegation. Some delegation best practices include identifying roles within the team's skill sets and interests, providing training, guidance, and support structures, setting milestones instead of micromanaging processes, tracking delegated tasks without over-monitoring, expressing appreciation, and celebrating delegated wins. A healthcare CEO noticed she spent over 60% of her time on operational issues better handled 1 level down. She delegated oversight of 6 departmental functions while establishing bi-monthly check-ins. This reduced her workload by 25% in the first quarter alone. Across functions like HR, marketing, and product development. Delegating the right responsibilities at the right levels of the organization uplifts leaders from overwhelm. Mastering time management. Effective time management associates strongly with perceived control over workloads. However, overwhelmed leaders often struggle here due to scattered mental availability and inconsistent processes. Research identifies several evidence-based strategies. Track hours spent on weekly, monthly to-dos and deadlines. Block schedule mandatory and preferred activities. Schedule buffers between tightly scheduled periods. Automate recurring tasks through digital calendars. Batch related tasks together. When possible, proactively plan around high-capacity periods. A hospital COO felt overwhelmed due to reactive, last-minute scheduling. He blocked out hours each week for strategic planning, delegated operational meetings, and automated standard reports. This allowed buffering between intensive surgery periods while proactively tackling priorities. A marketing director eliminated overload by batching social content creation and prospecting sprints. With systems in place, both leaders regained bandwidth to fully focus on high-value work. Conclusion: constant feelings of overwhelm undermine leadership performance, health, and job satisfaction. However, through research-backed strategies, this paper argues leaders need not accept overwhelm as an inevitable state. By auditing workloads, minimizing interruptions, empowering delegation, and instituting time management best practices, executives can regain a sense of control. With renewed focus on strategic high-impact priorities, organizations likewise benefit from maximized leadership productivity and decision-making acumen. While occasional stress remains inevitable in fast-paced roles, Overwhelmed leaders should adopt evidence-based tactics to combat chronic overload and sustainably shift mindsets around workload management. With renewed perspective and optimized processes, leaders can combat overwhelm and thrive in today's demanding business landscape.